For over 300 years, one name has been the absolute gold standard for buried treasure: Captain Kidd. It's this incredible legend of a massive fortune, gold, silver, jewels, all hidden somewhere by a man who was either a brutal pirate or a privateer who was framed. Today, we are cracking open the ultimate cold case file. We're going to look at the man, the myth, and the hunt for his lost loot that's been going on for centuries. You know, there's a real reason we're still obsessed with these stories. This hunt for hidden riches is, well, exactly like this quote says. It's bewitching. It just grabs our imagination like nothing else. And yeah, there are tons of pirate stories out there, but the legend of Captain Kidd has stuck around for one big reason. Part of the treasure was actually really found. And that is the question, isn't it? It's what's driven centuries of obsession, of people digging holes and chasing maps. It's this idea that one lucky find could change absolutely everything. So what's the real story behind this legend? Come on, let's dig into the evidence and see if we can piece this incredible mystery together. Okay, so before we can even begin to talk about the treasure, we have to get to know the man at the heart of it all. And with William Kidd, nothing is ever that simple. The biggest question, the one that defines his whole story, is, was he a government agent just doing his job, or was he one of the very criminals he was hired to hunt? What's so wild is that Kidd wasn't some career criminal who grew up on the wrong side of the law. Not at all. He was a respectable, really successful guy. He came over from Scotland, made a fortune in New York, married into one of the city's richest families, and was so respected he helped fund the building of Trinity Church. He was a family man, a legitimate captain. And right here, this is where it all gets messy. On one side, you've got his official orders, signed by the King of England himself. He was a state-sponsored pirate hunter, a privateer. But then you look at what he actually did out at sea, and it looks a whole lot like the piracy he was supposed to be stopping. So what on earth happened out there? This was a definite turning point. It's October 1697, and Kidd is in a huge argument with his gunner, William Moore. Kidd calls him a lousy dog, and Moore fires back with that line. Well, in a total fit of rage, Kidd grabs a heavy, iron-bound wooden bucket and just smacks him over the head. Moore died the next day. It was straight-up murder, and Kidd himself later said he wasn't even that worried about it, thinking his powerful friends back in England would get him off. And what's crazy is just how fast it all fell apart. I mean, in just 4 years, he goes from this celebrated privateer, backed by some of the most powerful men in England, to a wanted fugitive. The capture of the Quedagh merchant, this enormous treasure ship, that really sealed his fate. By the time he sailed back to America, his name was mud, and there was a warrant out for his arrest. Now, this is where the story goes from legend to legit. We're not just talking about myths and rumors anymore. We are talking about real, documented, tangible treasure that was recovered from Captain Kidd. So let's open up the evidence locker. When the governor of New England, a guy named Lord Bellamont, finally arrested Kidd, the authorities found treasure worth £10,000. Now, that was a staggering amount of money back then, an absolute fortune. It proved that Kidd had been very good at getting rich, one way or another. And this is the detail that makes the whole legend real. Kidd, who was probably hoping he could negotiate a pardon, told them where he'd buried some of his treasure, on a place called Gardner's Island. And the authorities went there, and they dug it up. The legend of Captain Kidd's buried treasure is true because we actually found some of it. And just get a load of what they found. I mean, the official list reads like something out of a movie script. We're talking over 100 ounces of gold dust, more than 100 silver bars, dozens of rubies, diamonds, silver candlesticks, and yeah, those famous pieces of 8. This wasn't just a chest full of coins. It was a huge, diverse hoard of serious treasure. The story of Gardner's Island is incredible, but honestly, it's just the beginning. It's the proof of what they found that gives us clues about what's still missing. So let's dive into the cold case file and see where this leads. Right, this is the question that has kept treasure hunters awake at night for centuries. The treasure they found on Gardner's Island? Kidd brought that ashore on a small boat. It was basically just what he could carry. But the real bulk of his fortune, he left that behind on his main prize ship. And that main prize was the Quedagh merchant, a massive 400-ton ship he captured off the coast of India. Its cargo was worth an insane amount of money. Not just gold and silver, but silks, muslins, sugar, iron. The treasure buried on Gardner's Island was probably just pocket change compared to what was on this one ship. So where to go? Well, this is where the trail goes ice cold. Kidd told the authorities he'd left the ship and all its valuable cargo hidden in a river down in the Caribbean, with a guy he trusted watching over it. But other stories say his crew heard he'd been declared a pirate, so they just looted everything, set the ship on fire, and scattered. To this day, nobody knows for sure what happened to it. And there's one more piece of missing evidence, and this one might have actually saved Kidd's life. He argued over and over that his captures were totally legal because the ships had French papers, making them enemy vessels and fair game in wartime. He swore he gave these crucial documents to Lord Bellomont, but they just vanished. They were never shown in court. Were they proof of his innocence, lost on purpose by the very men who'd sponsored him and now needed a fall guy? We'll probably never know. The fact that we don't have all the answers has only made people want to find them more. For 300 years, people have been searching for whatever Kidd left behind. So if you wanted to join the hunt today, where would you even start? And what kind of weird traditions would you have to follow? Well, the search is all over the place. Legends have pointed to dozens of spots, from the obvious, like Gardner's Island itself, to way more obscure places like the Rahway River in New Jersey or islands off the coast of Canada. Pretty much any little cove or inlet along the East Coast that Kidd might have sailed past has its own treasure story. But you gotta understand, treasure hunting back then was a whole different ballgame. It was steeped in superstition. According to old folklore, you didn't just grab a shovel and start digging. Nope. You might need to have a special dream first. Then, maybe perform a ritual sacrifice to keep the spirits happy. And you absolutely had to dig in total silence, or you might tick off the ghosts that were supposedly guarding the gold. It was as much a supernatural quest as it was a physical one. For all the legends and ghost stories, though, Captain Kidd's own story had a brutally real ending. A jury found him guilty on 5 counts of piracy. His execution was pure drama. The hangman's rope actually broke on the first try, but they found a second one pretty quick, and then as a final, gruesome warning to any other pirates, his body was hung in a cage over the River Thames for 3 long years. Which brings us right back to the central mystery. Now that you've seen the evidence, the official commission, the murder, the treasure they found, the papers that went missing, what's your verdict? Was he a good man who got pushed too far by a mutinous crew, a criminal from day one, or just a pawn in a political game, betrayed and silenced by the powerful men who used to be his friends? Right up to his last breath, Kidd himself seemed to blame everyone else. He saw himself as a victim of betrayal. His last words weren't a confession. They were a warning about the world he felt had turned on him, one last defiant claim that he was innocent, shouted from the gallows. And maybe that's the real treasure here. While the gold and silver might still be out there, buried in the sand or lost to the sea, the story that Kidd left behind, this timeless mystery of crime, betrayal, and lost fortune, has turned out to be way more valuable and has lasted a lot longer than any chest of gold ever could.